I've started putting the meat and bones on where the teeny tiny folk live, because it's one of my it's going to be a children's animated series. I want to do it in the style of original Wind in the Willows, like when it was David Jason and all of that, but with animals and insects, and all the characters in it are like little knitted figures, but with the same kind of sets as like Wind in the Willows. Where the teeny tiny folk live is, think the borrowers, but with insects and like garden and woodland creatures that live in the garden, that live in the forest, that live in the flora and fauna, that to them is a city. So, when you look under the leaves, if you look under the branches and that, you'll see like a metropolis kind of thing, but a garden forest version. High rise apartments and a train system and all of that, but it's just where the teeny tiny folk live. They're so small, humans don't see them, and if they do, they're accused of imagining things. But like, there's the ladybug is a school bus, and there's a centipede. I think I named him Mr. Walker, but don't hold me to that. But I think I named him Mr. Walker. If I didn't, I want to call him Mr. Walker, because I think it's funny that he's a centipede, but he's a shoe salesman, and he goes door to door selling shoes. Women's shoes on the left, men's shoes on the right, kids' shoes at the back. And he goes around like all the flowers and tree trunks and, like bushes and bush stems and all of that, where her indoors cleaning and raising the kids, and, as insect families do, as garden creatures do, and they'll all just have like various adventures. And I want to have a really lovely speaking narrator, and I want it to be a little bit silly, but a little bit, I don't know. Remember original Postman Pat? All the main characters were felt, but they had like the set, and like with Timmy Time, it was, all stop motion. This is going to be like original Wind in the Willows, but maybe not as, because we're talking about kids, maybe not as refined sets. It's going to be sort of simpler, because it's adventures of the creatures that live under the garden and under the flowers and on top of the flowers and in the trees and all of that. It's insects and little borrower style creatures that nobody notices because they're so small in the garden, where the teeny tiny folk live. Where the teeny tiny folk live. Yeah. I'm just upset. I've just got a thing with miniature sets, like mini sets, and I love the idea of a knitted frog. I got the idea from something that I saw on X. You know, a knitted frog or a knitted um, spider or a knitted worm or whatever in a little miniature set, like having some sort of adventure or crisis or I mean we have to do one where there's too much snow. So we'll have to come up with a whole pile of like little mini stories. Each one will probably only go for 5 or 10 minutes. But maybe do like 3 stories in a half-hour show. I think it'd be great. I can't wait. I'm going to need to employ knitters, women who can knit, people who can knit. I've seen them on X because it's what gave me the idea. I fell in love with it. The second I saw it, I knew that's how I had to do where the teeny tiny folk live. So I need to find like a lot of knitters who can knit really cute, like insects and little woodland, like mini creatures, and maybe do the borrower style humanesque, like pixies or whatever we're going to make them. Maybe make them felt or something so that they are slightly different because, you know, they're a whole different kind of class of species of creature. So I'm going to need a few, I'm going to need like like at least 4 movie studios. At least. It would be really good if I could buy a place that had like oh, you know, the sheds that they used to put planes and stuff in. It's alright. I mean, they don't need to be huge movie sets, but we'll need like maybe 2 big ones, but we have we've got a few stop motion things, or you know, things that are stop motion-esque that are going to require enough space to get these little stages out, but we could probably fit in one hanger. Fit a couple in one hanger. Like have, you know, your big hanger style studios and then just have a couple of smaller ones for the stop motion. I call them hangers. So I need to buy a place. I just keep thinking about that land in Canada. Oh my God, there was some prime, perfect, beautiful land, and quite a few that I would have to go and check out because there were at least 9 that I saw that would be perfect for what I'm looking for. Right on lakes, right on waterfronts. You know, so the kids can go swimming and canoeing and kayaking and all of that if they want. That had driveway bits, you know, because they were like little roads with like shrubbery and bits of forest that, oh my God, it just would have been perfect, absolutely perfect. The only place I've seen, not that I've really looked here in the UK, but there's one place for sale on Loch Lomond that would be ideal if I could get a permit to build everything else that I needed. Thinking this might end up turning into a boarding school. Have like the summer camp, but have like a boarding school for the kids that don't want to go back. I just can't bear the thought of sending any kids back home knowing that they're going to be abused or fall back into the hands of the system, or because the whole point of all of this is to keep them out of the gangs and off the streets and off the drugs and out of prison and out of juvie, and which is why I need to build as many foundations as possible in as many countries that'll let me do it, where they're not tyrannical. Yeah, so where the teeny tiny folk live in illustration form and book form, because I dearly want to publish these books with handwritten illustrations on it, sort of in the style of Peter Rabbit. But when the show is on, obviously, I want like mini crafted sets and knitted insects and animals and like felt. I don't know what to make them yet, whether to make them like pixies or some sort of avatar style thing. Think of where the teeny tiny folk live as like Avatar, but with cities and, you know, school buses that are ladybugs and police officers that are bees and all of that. So, yeah. And then they have certain adventures and just like every other kid's thing, but I want to have each sort of story be about 10 minutes long and fit 3 stories into a 1.5 hour show. It keeps the kids' attention when they know a new story's coming up. So it keeps them watching because they want to see the story that's coming up next. So yeah, it'll give the writing kids, the writing staff and that a whole pile of things to come up with. And I personally can't wait to see the set with the like tiny little teacups and little mail and a little like spider postman with all his bags on his legs. Oh my god, that's so cute. I can't wait. Yeah, so anyway, everything that I put out there is subject to change. The names, the styles, everything. This is me just weaving a thread of an idea and seeing what sticks. So I like to throw many balls up in the air and just see what lands, see what I'm meant to catch. And I grow it all from there, from that, whatever it is I catch as an idea, that I grow it from there. So this is me just starting to weave the thread of where the teeny tiny folk live. Where the teeny tiny folk live. That's what I keep hearing in my head. I'm obsessed with jingles and God. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's all becoming very real. I don't know how to do Mary the Fairy with the one that I used to call the Anahita Wick series. It's Mary the Fairy series. She's Mary the Fairy. She's a fairy godmother for Glasgow. For Glasgow. She's for Glasgow. I love Glasgow. I was happy in Glasgow. Glasgow helped me helped me fight my agoraphobia. Helped me come out of my shell. So I have to honour it. And I'm doing that with Mary the Fairy. Okay. She's a wee sassy lassie. Well, she's no lassie. She's like 420, but she only looks like she's in her maybe 60s. But she's a sassy wee thing. She loves the children though. It's just you have to keep her off the whiskey. Because she can be a bit scrappy if she's on the whiskey. So when she drinks at the Alchemist Tavern in the Art of Creation, because she goes out on karaoke nights with Doba Drexel and Amber Diamond and Pearl, and when they go on the karaoke night, if she has a whiskey, when she comes in, they have to hide the whiskey, because if she has a whiskey, she's known to get a bit brazen. And she's been kicked out of a few pubs. But the kids won't know that, because that's not who she is in front of the kids. So she sticks to the sherry. Mary drinks the sherry because you don't want to give her whiskey. But yeah, so that's Mary the Fairy. Oh God, yeah, she's gonna be a right character. The kids are absolutely gonna love her. The actress that I get to play her, she originally was supposed to be like sort of a bit Mrs. Doubtfire, a bit my teacher, Pauline Wardle Braddon. She was the one who had told me about the prophecy and said that I was the chosen one and all of that. So yeah, Pauline Wardle Braddon, the Australian Tasmanian devil. She was a little Piscean Tasmanian devil, that one. She cracks the whip hard on me. Yeah, so Mary the Fairy, when she was originally in my head, she looked a bit like Mrs. Doubtfire and my teacher Pauline. But I've made her a little bit younger. I've made her probably, you know, the fairy godmother from Shrek, younger than her. She'll definitely look younger than her, but she's kind of going to be a bit of a firecracker like Shrek's fairy godmother. You know, she's sassy. She's got moxie. She's got a bit of moxie. It's not that she's rough around the edges. She's just street smart. Put it that way. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. Miss Penelope from Miss Mouse's brew house, Penelope, her sister Calliope, is the adjudicator for fairy godmothers in training. So she assesses them because she's assessing Mary the fairy. So she often goes on a lot of trips and adventures with Mary to make sure that when she's sent out to do deeds for the children, she's doing it right, because Mary's only 420, which in fairy godmother years, like she's maybe on the verge of just coming out of her teenage years. She's considered quite young, quite immature. She's kind of, in fairy terms, she's going through puberty basically. And so so she needs to be. She's just starting to learn to use her magic and try it out on the children and that. So it's kind of like she's learning to drive her car, and Calliope is her driving instructor, but for her magic, for her wand. So in the Mary the Fairy stories, you'll often see Calliope turning up with her to make sure that she isn't misappropriating her use of magic, because she is, like I said, considered a teenager, and you know she's going through her rebellious stage, so to speak. So yeah, she's, you know, like any 16, 17-year-old kid learning to drive a car, but for Mary it's learning to drive her wand. She's gone from a wooden spoon to an actual wand that can create magic. So yeah, so she's under appraisal with Calliope, who has like little wire rimmed glasses and a little clipboard with a pencil, and yeah, she does physics on the side. She's a little white mouse with red eyes. She has like a little lab coat thing on. It's just adorable. She sits on her shoulder, and because because Mary's quite like a puppy chasing her own tail, sometimes she can be a little bit forgetful. There's been a few times in the stories where she's forgotten to take Calliope when she's, you know, done her mission, and left Calliope behind. So yeah, she's a little bit. She was originally supposed to be sort of dottery and sort of always losing her pencil, forgetting it's in her hair, which she still will do, but she's not dottery anymore. I've made her not dottery. She's sort of just, she's so busy. It's like on to the next thing, on to the next thing. She just wants to hurry up and pass these exams so that she can go off and be a fully fledged fairy godmother, which by the time she gets the job at the Ministry of Souls News Network, she's like a, you know, she's no longer needing Calliope, but in the children's story she's still a fairy godmother in training. So yeah, how I want her to look is kind of like a cat lady. She's gonna wear my big I've got this blue cardigan that I want to rescue from the house, that I use it as my writing jacket. Whenever I write my stories in there at the laptop, you know, before all this happened, I would wear my writing jacket, but it's my former fat jumper. like a jumper I used to wear when I was like morbidly obese. But it's just so warm and cozy, and it's at the dungeon still. And I want to rescue it. I want to get it back. Well, she wears that, and sometimes she turns up in slippers. Her familiar is a black and white cat based on my familiar Ghibli, but he'll be a bit sassy, sassy as well because your familiars take on your your same personality, but they will take on the role that they need for whatever it is that they need to protect you or help you while you're in training, because you have your familiar while you're still learning to use your magic. Once you know how to use your magic, you no longer need your familiar, because you no longer need that extra layer of protection while you're still spiritually vulnerable. So you're given familiars, and they keep you safe and teach you while you're learning. They teach you a lot of things. You have your own language with them. I will do a podcast about familiars and what they're for and that. But yeah, Ghibli was mine. He was my last one. I've had them my whole life, but Ghibli was my last one. Any pets that I get now in the future would just be pets. I wouldn't have the same bond with them that I've had with my familiars. So so this cat, it kind of like Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service, but based on my cat Ghibli, and he sits in the pocket of her blue jumper, is based on my real blue jumper. Sometimes she'll have bare feet, sometimes she'll have baffies on, slippers. It depends on, because she gets called to these kids at a moment's notice. So she gets zapped from everywhere. Sometimes in a dressing gown with her hair in a towel sort of thing. But she's always got her wand with her. So she's learning that. Fairy godmother doesn't leave without her wand. Her wand is an extension of herself. My wand is an extension of myself. That's her in Fairy Godmother school. When they have to recite the pledge every day so that it's drummed into their head that the fairy godmother never puts her wand down, so she keeps her wand in her knicker elastic. And she pulls it out from behind her. That is Mary the fairy. So she's not rough around the edges, because she's very good at what she does. She's very good at articulating herself. She's just no nonsense, and she's just a bit rebellious, but in a kind of cute, cheeky, sort of sassy way. Like, she riles the kids up. She knows how to make the kids laugh. She knows how to pull them out of a funk and all of that, because she often has to get sent to these kids because they're grieving, or because they're having nightmares, or they've been bullied at school and that. So, she comes along and they're thinking that she's going to be, wearing these pink taffeta dresses with, these big, massive, like rainbow glittery wings, and she's nothing of the sort. Like, her wings aren't even really that big because she's only a teenager. Fairy godmothers can hide their wings, because they often have to be in disguise. So, you can't have fairy godmothers walking around a city or going to a suburb to help a kid have a wish granted with their wings hanging out, because, like, look at what people do to yetis and what they want to do if aliens were ever real. The first thing they do is shoot them and experiment on them. So of course fairies have to hide their wings. When they're in the people world, they have to hide their wings. So yeah, I can't wait to sit down with an illustrator and see her in illustration form. I can't wait to see any of my characters in illustration form, but especially Mary the fairy godmother, because she's going to be the brand on a lot of things, including my biorhythmic bubbles. I invented I have to patent it. Um, Bubbles, you know, kids blow the bubbles with the wand. I've got the bubbles there. I haven't given them a name yet, like to license it and patent it. I haven't given it a name yet, but she's going to sell. She's going to be the brand of like all my kids' products for the kids' candles and like these bubbles. And the kids will be able to blow the bubbles and put their hopes and their fears and their wishes, and what's on their mind. They'll be able to blow it into the bubble, and the bubble will take it away from them, like literally. It will relieve them of their stress and their fears and their tensions and their worries and that. It will remove it. But in the stories that I've written and in the series and that, the bubbles go to Brahena Saithusa, the Grand Emperor's fairy godmother, i.e. Princess Anahita once she's ascended, and she makes their wishes come true, or she holds on to their fears and helps them get rid of them, takes their bad dreams away, because the bubbles, they're biorhythmically infused. So if the kids blow them in their room, it cleanses their room. It like consecrates their room. It will take the boogeyman away. It'll take the bad dreams away. It'll, because it'll do the same thing as the candles for parents that don't feel comfortable about burning candles in their kids' rooms. But how we're going to say it is that, under supervision, the parents can burn the candles during the day. The kids don't even have to have anything to do with the candles being on. But for older kids, there's absolutely no reason why they can't have like oil burners, or lanterns and that, with it, they're protected, and then the parents just burning because I can make candles that like have like a 1 hour 2 hour burning time for kids if needs be. But tea light candles, you can get tea light candles that are only like 2 hours, which would be perfect if you wanted to use our oils instead of candles and that. But I've got a whole children's range, and my bubbles are for the spray version of for kids. But whatever they've got on their mind, whatever they're sad about, they can release it into the bubble, and it helps them in real life. It's real therapy. But it also is occult magic, and the fact that it also, bearing in mind I am an ordained minister, I am a reverend, but I'm an occult reverend. And these candles and bubbles and that, like I've got a range for children, I've got a range for animals, got animal totem oils, and these bubbles are for the children, so they can go outside and blow them, or they can blow them in their room. But wherever the bubble goes, once it's popped, that means Brahena Saithusa's holding it. She's got it. She's caught it. And then the kids can relax. So, yeah, so that's all been written into the story, and I have to get Mary, her aesthetic, just right, because she's going to end up the face on the brand of, all the kids' products that we'll be selling. So, there you go. Anyway, so yeah, I need a good illustrator, because I'll get them to do all the books and that for Where the Teeny Tiny Folk Live and that as well. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So I just thought I'd share my idea. Oh dear.